Hi people, my name is Jeff2146 and today we are going to be looking at a replay sent into the Total Fall of the Samurai Discord. This is going to be using the beta 6 of the Scramble for the East mod, and we are going to be looking at a 2v2 with a Belgian-Chinese alliance against a Spanish-Dutch alliance. Kind of a bit of an ironic matchup if you know your history. So let's just go over what both armies bring, as I literally have not looked at this replay before. I have really just started this up and pressed record. So first of all, these Spanish are bringing a decent amount of hussars, and then a unit of cuirassiers and a unit of skirmish cav. It's actually the first time I've seen skirmish cav being used. And we also get 2 units of elite infantry with 1 grenadier and 1 royal guard, as well as a line of fusiliers. And 1 colonial infantry, probably just because they had the budget left. To round this off, they are bringing out 1 6-pounder field cannon. Over on the Dutch side, we got a quite substantial cavalry. We got same 4 units of cavalry. This time bringing 2 units of lancers, a unit of hussars, and 1 unit of carbineers. Which apparently are not skirmish cav. I was wrong about that one. And we have 3 units of Luxembourgian infantry, a formation of just regular infantry, and then 1 unit of flankers. As well as some more, no, this is some Limburgian infantry. Hiding over here in the forest. They're going to be facing off against a Belgian player, bringing out 2 units of cuirassiers and a force of 2 grenadiers and foot infantry. No real special units over here. And this is the first time I'm actually going to be seeing the Qing Empire here. They are going to be coming out with these melee infantry here, the green standards. Which is going to be their full mainline infantry units. These are then backed up by their red banner infantry. Look a lot more armored than the green standards. Probably also a lot more expensive. And finally they bring a unit of red banner sword infantry. So a really melee focused army over here. Then also supported by 2 units of mounted Manchurian lancers. And mounted Mongol bowmen. No, so we are going to be getting ourselves a unit of skirmish cavalry in this match. So let's see how the Belgian-Chinese alliance can fare against the Dutch-Spanish alliance. See, a Spanish player is already moving straight up into this forest line, trying to get a nice firing line going before the Chinese player can advance. The Dutch player is looking to merge up with looking just to get his forces over to the Spanish player to form a big formation to be able to hold off the oncoming tide of melee units from the Chinese. Meanwhile, the Belgian player is well, I can't actually see his unit trails because the replay was from the Dutch-Spanish side, but it looks like they are going for the same strategy by getting both armies to. Oh no, the Dutch player is now actually spreading out a bit more, sending his cavalry more towards the center together with 3 units of infantry. Another 5 units of infantry to the right flank. And I'm probably keeping his flankers in reserve over here. And then let's see, who is this? This is going to be a... No, these are his flankers. Alright. Let's see, Spanish player, any change in plans? Not so far. Seems like the Belgian player is still really focused on just getting his army to meet up with his Chinese ally. Yeah, look, the Netherlands is sending forward a unit of hussars, and oh yeah, I see now they do have buildings turned on, so getting a unit of hussars on this is going to actually force the hand of the Belgian player to move forward with his entire line. It's probably going to be the first engagement of the match. Meanwhile, over here, the Chinese have tried to get a flank going with their mounted Mongol bowmen, but they were spotted by the Spanish player, who is sending off a unit of his royal guards and a unit of his grenadier unit off to his flank, as well as getting his cavalry ready to meet that. Meanwhile, the Dutch player is moving up to get the shrine into his control as soon as possible, forgetting that cavalry can only capture a building if they are dismounted. That's why he has no capture progress on the shrine yet, so that can still go either way. Meanwhile, over here in the sword dojo, he tried to do the same thing, but again, cavalry units can only capture buildings if they dismount, which is actually going to be happening for the Chinese player, as he is moving in a unit of green standard to contest this point against the Dutch lancers. However, the Dutch player is responding well to this by sending 3 units of his Luxembourg infantry. Over here, the Belgian player has decided to hold back a bit. He's not ready yet to fully commit to a charge against the Dutch. While over here, there's a Chinese seem to have gotten to the forest before the Spanish were ready, and a daring outflank from the mounted Mongol bowmen over here seemingly ends in disaster as they take a volley from both the grenadiers and royal guard. Now being sent in to start actually firing arrows at the Spanish hussars. Over here, it seems like the first real engagement is going to be starting in between these green standard and red banner infantry and the Luxembourg infantry from the Dutch player. Meanwhile, it seems like he has turned around his green standard to go after the Dutch cavalry units, and the Spanish player now actually has to pull units off of his front line to fit his cannon and protect his rear against these mounted archers. Over here, the Chinese player has decided to commit to a charge with his red banner sword infantry. These are, I think, his best units, so they are, however, taking a real beating over here. Taking a stupid amount of fire from the Dutch infantry. Meanwhile, on this side, the charge seems to be going a lot smoother, with the Chinese crushing into the Dutch infantry. And now the charge here has been resumed. They are also going to just crash into this unit of Dutch infantry, which is going to start to melt in the face of a dedicated melee unit. However, the Chinese player has overextended a bit, as the Dutch cavalry is able to just strike him into the rear of his red banner infantry, and these guys got absolutely destroyed. However, the Belgians are actually providing some support by shooting into this unit of Dutch lancers, who are going to try and do the exact same to this unit of red banner sword infantry. Over with the Belgian player, he has started line battling with the Dutch player, which should go in his favor, as he does have better guns than the Dutch player. but his Chinese ally is losing the center. Over on this side of the map, the Chinese player has gotten complete control over the forest and is now going to be charging the Spanish position while he is moving in his mounted lancers. But the Spanish player was just about able to form 2 squares in time, so that cavalry unit is probably not going to live for much longer. And here you see actually something very smart being done by the Chinese player, moving his green standard cheaper infantry in first before he sent his good red banner infantry in. Over on this side, it seems like he has committed one more unit of his red banner, which are now able to actually hold. With this unit of he probably sent another unit of green banner as well, but they themselves are not faring that well. They have been able to break 2 of the Dutch units so far, but they have lost a lot of forces over here. However, the Belgian player is now actually moving in his cuirassiers. So that was probably what actually turned the tide over here, tying up the Dutch cavalry. In and of itself, the Dutch line seems to be taking quite a beating. But so does the Belgian line. It isn't, well, some units have taken quite a bit of damage over here, but the Belgian player has now committed his 2 units of grenadiers to the fight, which should be able to push through this Luxembourg infantry no problem. Over on the other flank, the Spanish player is just running. That's practically all you can do in this situation. But no matter how long you do keep running away, the Chinese infantry is eventually going to catch up to you. However, he has formed a flank here with his elite infantry to get a couple of shots off into this green standard unit. Oh, and this unit, but then also having to retreat now. Over on this side, the Belgian cavalry is having a real bad time fighting their Dutch counterpart, as they're being shot in the side by this Dutch unit of flankers. Dutch player wisely has put down stakes to prevent his infantry from being frontally charged. However, he is now having to pull back because there's a unit of red banner moving in on him, forcing these flankers and this unit of Luxembourg infantry to pull back, which should allow the Belgian elite infantry to push up towards the samurai dojo, which should give the sword dojo, which should give a giant boost to the Chinese player, as his entire army is melee focused. Over here, the flankers have committed to a melee battle with the red banner infantry, while this unit of Luxembourg infantry has tried to do reflank, not quite successful in that. We are going to see how this is going to end. However, the Dutch player has dropped the military cadence on his flankers, getting them back to fresh. Seeing that their flank is going to fail, the Belgian player is pushing forward, trying to put pressure on that Dutch line, which he is going to be able to very much get. Dutch player is sending off some shrapnel. Sending off some grape shot into the Belgian infantry, not doing all too much damage. Meanwhile, the Spanish player is still running. So we'll get back to that. The Spanish player is really trying to get into this position to support the Dutch player before the Chinese are able to catch up with him. Over here, these units of Dutch infantry are really getting it now. They're not going to be able to withstand this assault for that much longer, and mainly the cannon firing straight into the Belgian infantry has practically done the most damage so far, just seeing that shot slam into this unit. A good amount of troops get up, but those are troops that are not currently firing. Getting some fire by Rankov, but here the Spanish cavalry arrived, taking out the last of the Belgian cavalry in the process. However, they are now taking fire from the 2 Belgian grenadier units that are still on the Sword Dojo. With this, the Belgian Chinese side have now also gotten control over the shrine. Oh, not yet at least. They are capturing it right now. Should see, yeah, the flag is going up. So that shouldn't take too long, but the flank of the Dutch has completely collapsed. And that's a lot of cavalry slamming into the Belgian flank over here. The Dutch are also sending in their elite flankers, but the Belgians are forming square. They formed it just a bit too late over here. But they do still have their 2 units of elite infantry ready over here. But the Spanish cav has gone to the rear of the Belgian formation and is now probably going to recharge multiple Belgian units. Same with... the Dutch player is now also committing all of his still remaining infantry to a melee charge. So the Belgian player is now, however, forced to put all of his units in square and stop his advance, which could have been able to completely crush the Dutch flank before the Spanish were able to arrive, as they're still being harassed by the Chinese, who now have fallen behind sufficiently that the Spanish are able to give them a couple of volleys before they have to start running again. And that's going to be a brutal rear charge here of the Spanish cavalry into this Belgian unit, probably breaking it. However, the Belgian player has moved his lead infantry up, which should now be able to start unloading into this mess of units. Mainly probably just into this blob over here. But really, the right side of the Belgian formation has practically crumbled now that even more Dutch infantry is starting to go after the last square, also taking cannon fire from literal meters away. In and of itself, it looks like the Spanish-Dutch alliance might still be able to pull this one off, as long as they're going to be able to deal with this Belgian elite infantry, which is practically some of the best infantry in the game. And putting those couple of volleys on those Spanish cuirassiers have really done a number on them. However, will it be enough? Spain is committing to another charge as this Belgian square breaks. That is going to be absolutely brutal. Meanwhile, over here, the Belgian player is trying to pull back his elite infantry as to not commit them to a melee fight with cuirassiers. Spanish player is being wise and not following them, trying to get his cuirassiers to do more damage over here. Belgian player again trying to get squares going to stop the complete onslaught of Dutch infantry and Spanish cavalry slamming into him. Meanwhile, the Chinese have been able to close to melee distance and are now doing great work against these Fusiliers. However, the Spanish Royal Guard and Grenadiers are still able to fire, as the units going after them have not been able to catch up yet. just as I say that the Spanish player is starting to pull back again. Now, however, they are taking fire from these two Belgian units afoot in their attempt to retreat, so this is going to be pretty interesting from here on. As seeing for the Belgian lead infantry, they have now tried to get a move on the flank of the Spanish, while still also having to deal with the cannon and a little bit of Dutch infantry still left here, but a little bit is still enough to distract them a bit, while over here this unit of Belgian foot is absolutely trying to hold the line while being rear charged by cavalry and having to take these Dutch elite infantry from the front. They're not going to be able to last for much longer. Meanwhile, the two elite units of the Spanish player are smashing into the second to last Belgian square as his line is being charged again by these Chinese melee infantry. It is now really going to come down on how fast the Chinese player can cut through these units, as they do still have 2 more units of infantry left and the 2 elite units of Belgian infantry over here. It seems like he is countercharging using his colonial infantry. Those guys are not going to last long. Meanwhile, the last Belgian square is now being charged by the combined Dutch and Spanish forces. Meanwhile, the Belgian elite infantry just firing into this mess. And it seems like the Spanish line is starting to crumble under the weight of the Chinese melee charge. And you can see it just completely breaking apart in the center. That's his flank. That is practically all of his infantry gone now. Even the colonials are running. He only got this unit of Fusiliers. Only got these 2 units of Fusiliers left fighting on that line. He now even has to commit his Carabinier cavalry to the fight, trying to hold off this blob of Chinese troops, while what was left of the Belgian infantry is trying to hold on for dear life against the onslaught of Spanish elite infantry. And it looks like the Belgian player is now committing to a charge, with the reinforcements from the Chinese player streaming in, crashing into this center melee. This is going to be the deciding blow of the battle, giving the victory to the Chinese and Belgian alliance, as they now completely surround what is left of the Spanish and Dutch players. And that is going to be causing a chain rout soon. And that brings us to the end of the battle, with what felt like a hard-fought but close victory for the Belgian and Chinese. I'm going to wait for the battle end screen to pop up and then go into the statistics. I'll probably just have to quit replay for that. So I'm just going to take a look at the casualty reports, which should be absolutely enormous, as a lot of that good portion of that Spanish infantry got absolutely mauled by the Chinese melee troops. No, it doesn't seem like they actually want to give us the statistics. Great, so when you next submit a replay, please do keep in mind to include the statistics to them, as I can't always actually get them. As sometimes for me they'll pop up, sometimes they won't, otherwise, well, sometimes the battle won't even end properly. So, still. Great battle, well fought by the players. I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description below where you can upload your battles. Do please specify what version of the mod is being used. In this case, Scramble for the Far East via Beta 6 was being used. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.